Marc Pastor is a Barcelona police detective and a novelist. He's written 4 books, and one of them has just been published in Britain under the title Barcelona Shadows, translated from the Catalan. It's a wonderfully black story, a combination of crime thriller and gothic horror, and it tells the tale of a notorious Barcelona serial killer of a century ago, a woman called Enriqueta Martí. Marc Pastor, this is a very black tale indeed.
Yes.
Just fill us in very briefly on the plot and who Enriqueta Martí, your central character, is.
It's very dark indeed. It's based on Enriqueta Martí's life. She was a madame in a brothel. She was a kidnapper of children. She kidnapped children and sold them to rich people, and sometimes she killed those children and made ointments, unguents, potions of the flesh and the blood.
And she is not just a product of your imagination. She really existed. There was a real
Yes.
Enriqueta Martí.
Yes, it's a real case. It really existed. She's the official female serial killer in Barcelona.
And you've got a notebook there of cuttings and notes which you compiled when you were researching that. What have you got in there?
Yes. That's the notebook I used when I wrote the book. I had some research in hemerotext. These are from La Vanguardia. It's one of the oldest newspaper in Catalonia, in Barcelona, and La Vanguardia had a lot of information of the case, a lot of the declarations of Enriqueta, of his family, of the victims, and from another magazine called Mundo Gráfico, it's the graphical wall. We have the pictures, and it's really wonderful because you can see that those years in those pictures. You can see the husband, the Enriqueta's husband. You can see the victims, the last 2 victims that were found in Enriqueta's apartment, Angelita and Teresina, with the mayor. Or you can see the fake wall in the kitchen where she hid the bones of her victims. The pit where she left the dead bodies, or the moment she was arrested, or people chasing the car where she was arrested. It's like recovering a piece of that Barcelona of the beginnings of the 20th century.
Yeah, now, you are yourself a police officer, you're a crime scene officer.
Yes.
How does that help you in constructing a story like this?
I would lie if I say that this doesn't influence me. Of course, my work, my job, really influences in sometimes in the words of a character, the victim way of talking, or the glances of the murderer, or whatever. In that case, for example, in the case of Enriqueta, I couldn't get inside the mind of Enriqueta. I couldn't imagine how a female serial killer could behave as she did. And we had a case in 2006 where a female serial killer was killing and trying to kill elder women in Barcelona. She committed about 8 or 9 homicides, some consummated, some not. And I investigated the case. I was in the team that investigated that case. And the day we found her, the day we arrested her, and I could look her at the eyes. And have you seen the silence of the lambs when Hannibal Lecter stands like this, Clarice? That pose. So that was the same. That woman act like Hannibal Lecter. Like this sense of pride and so cold, and like an iceberg, watching like a beast. And I thought, wow, 100 years after the story of Enriqueta, we have another female serial killer in Barcelona who acts more or less the same than Enriqueta did. About the 90% of the serial killers are men, only about 10% are women. And in Barcelona we have 2 separate in 100 years. So I took this glance of the modern serial killer to describe the ancient serial killer.
What does that say about Barcelona? Because one of the things about this book is that Barcelona, which is anarchic in 1911 and corrupt and filthy and stinking,
it's
almost I was going to say it's a character, yeah.
Yes, Barcelona is a character. I wanted to be a mirror image of Enriqueta. I wanted to have Enriqueta and Barcelona in a parallel way, because Enriqueta by night is splendorous, shiny. She moves among the rich people in the casinos, in the high society mansions. He's like, you know, she's very like a duchess, and by day she's like a beggar. You know, she wears a black cape. She kidnaps children. She eats the flesh and drinks the blood, and it's kind of schizophrenic. And Barcelona at that time was the same. By the night, Barcelona wanted to be one of the most modern cities in Europe, with the hugest casino in Europe, with a roller coaster in the casino in 1911, and had a lot of people coming from all over Europe, and we had Gaudi's buildings, we had the modernism. We wanted to be the most shiny city in Europe. But by day, a lot of people was dying on the streets by disease, by tuberculosis, by a lot of disease, by poorness.
You write in Catalan. You are Catalan.
Yes.
You could reach a much bigger audience if you wrote in Spanish.
I do reach it because I'm being translated to Spanish, but it's a decision from the first book I wrote that to write in Catalan, because there's not so much tradition of genre literature in Catalan. There's not so much sci-fi or horror or crime. Well, there's a lot of crime fiction, but not this kind of freaky genres. And I want to fill the blank. I want to be there. I want my language has a big tradition of sci-fi and horror and all that stuff. And I want to, if I have to begin, I will do it.
What do you call this book? What kind of book is this? It's a sort of gothic horror, crime, thriller. Is it what genre does it belong to?
Well, the first time I thought about the book, it was kind of Western horror, gothic crime fiction book, because the main character, the inspector, behave like a cowboy. You know, with the weight of the gun, he walks like, give me a shot of whiskey, man. And maybe it's a Western in a Mediterranean scenario. But it's sometimes horror, sometimes crime fiction, sometimes Western.
Marc Pastor, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot.